The moment the President of the United States steps outside the White House gates, he stops being a man. He becomes a moving fortress. That black bag his aide never lets out of arm's reach? It's called the nuclear football. Inside it, the launch codes that could end civilization. His toilet seat travels with him. Yes, really. His own waste is sealed in containers and flown back to American soil, so no foreign government can ever get a biological readout on his health. Hotel rooms get their TVs swapped out, not for an upgrade, but because listening devices sometimes hide inside factory electronics. Windows get replaced with bulletproof glass. Entire floors get sealed off. And once, when monkeys threatened to wander into a security zone, the US team hired men to imitate Langer calls just to scare them away. This isn't a movie. This is Tuesday for the Secret Service. Today, I'm taking you inside the machine. The real minute-by-minute operation that turns a single 15-minute presidential walk into a more complex security operation than the Olympics. Here's something most people don't realize. A presidential foreign visit doesn't start with a plane. It starts with a memo. And it starts almost half a year in advance. Unless it's a true emergency, the US government needs 4 to 5 months to plan a single overseas trip. It begins in the West Wing, where the National Security Advisor, the National Security Council, and the White House Chief of Staff sit down with the president and lay out the case. Why this country? Why now? What do we want to walk away with? If the president greenlights it, the clock starts ticking. Within a day, that decision becomes a formal document, historically called the Presidential Decision Memo. Once the Chief of Staff signs it, the trip is real. That's usually the moment the news cycle picks it up. From there, a second document is built, a detailed threat and logistics dossier for the destination country, sometimes called the Trip Directive Order. It goes out over secure channels to every agency with a stake in the mission. Within days, representatives from those agencies gather at the Eisenhower Executive Office building next to the White House and form what's called the Advance Team, the group that will physically go and build the operation from the ground up. White House staff handle the events. The Secret Service owns security, start to finish. Communications specialists build the entire secure network that will follow the president overseas. And then they deploy. Picture this. Months before the president ever boards a plane, a small army of American specialists is already on the ground in the host country, quietly rebuilding it around him. The roads. Every possible route between the airport, the hotel, and event venues gets mapped and stress tested. The winning route has to be short, ideally under 20 minutes, wide enough for the motorcade to execute a U-turn at speed, and free of blind corners or narrow side streets that could hide a threat. Even the direction of the sun is logged, because sunlight in a driver's eyes is a vulnerability. And any route that makes the cut must sit within 20 minutes of a level 1 trauma hospital, ideally one with a helipad in case the unthinkable happens. The signal. Specialists from the White House Communications Agency quietly sweep every inch of the route with satellite equipment, hunting for radio dead zones. Anywhere coverage is weak or a security camera can't be mounted within roughly 100 meters gets flagged. Either the route is scrapped or extra antennas and repeaters go up. The airport. Not just any airport will do. The runway alone has strict minimums, at least 150 feet wide and over 10,000 feet long. Fuel samples get pulled and flown back to US labs for testing. Snipers are positioned on rooftops and towers, capable of spotting the glint of a reflection from over a mile away. And in the biggest visits, entire sections of the airport are placed under direct Secret Service control. The hotel. The team picks the safest floor and room, then rebuilds the hotel around it. Elevators get reserved, door locks get changed. Extra X-ray machines and cameras go in. Staff undergo police background checks. And this one surprises people, an entire duplicate kitchen is built, cooking the same meal in parallel, so if something goes wrong with one plate, a backup is already waiting. Everything the president eats passes through a microbiological food testing lab first. The venue. Any building tall enough to see the event site gets sealed, its rooftop turned into a security post. Residents inside get counted and vetted. The barricades that go up aren't decorative. They're rated to stop a truck moving at 50 miles per hour without budging. Even the podium is a piece of security hardware. It's built by the Secret Service, nicknamed the Blue Goose, and doubles as a bulletproof shield. If you ever watched agents shove a podium in front of a president during an attack, that's exactly what it's designed for. By the time this survey is complete, the team has built a full 3D model of the trip using drones and laser mapping, along with a risk report so detailed it outlines Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C for nearly every scenario. That plan gets shared with Washington and with the host government. 10 to 15 days before departure, a second advance team arrives, and this time, it's not planning, it's rehearsing. They run full mock drills, fake motorcades driving the real route, jamming equipment tested against real signals, vibration sensors installed beneath the stage to guard against a threat from underground. In some cases, agents send their own people through the airport with dummy tickets and fake passports, deliberately trying to break their own system just to find the cracks before anyone else can. The hotel gets torn apart and rebuilt one more time. Bulletproof glass goes into the president's windows. Electronics get swapped for clean ones. A war room is built, usually inside the hotel itself, ready to run the country's business from a 5-star suite. And around the president, a 7-layer security shell forms. On the outside, local police and paramilitary managing roads and crowds. Inside that, elite tactical units with heavy weapons and sniper coverage. And in the innermost ring, closest to the man himself, more than 300 US Secret Service agents, the only people permitted to physically touch or move the president. That entire bubble stretches 10 to 15 kilometers, with the airspace above it, sometimes 50 kilometers wide, locked down as a no-fly zone. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the operation, anyone flagged as a potential threat, activists, people with prior records, even street vendors and beggars in the security zone, gets quietly relocated for the duration of the visit. It's the least glamorous part of the machine, and one governments rarely like to talk about. Days before arrival, giant C-17 cargo planes start landing, 2 or 3 of them, sometimes more, packed with the president's actual convoy vehicles, folded-up helicopters, radar systems, and security dogs. All of it flown in ahead of time, so that when the president lands, his entire fortress is already waiting for him. On departure day, the president doesn't simply walk to a plane. He's flown by helicopter from the White House lawn, always in a formation of 3 or 4 identical aircraft, so no outside observer can ever be sure which one he's actually in. 10 minutes later, he boards one of 2 identical aircraft that instantly become Air Force One, because that call sign doesn't belong to a specific plane. It belongs to whichever aircraft the president is on. The rule exists because of a real mix-up decades ago, when a commercial flight with a nearly identical number caused confusion in the same airspace. And Air Force One itself is less an airplane than a flying White House. 3 floors, 4,000 square feet, a private suite, 2 kitchens, a small onboard medical bay capable of minor surgery, and communications gear that can survive the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear blast. Fighter jets often escort it in formation. Landing in the host country triggers an immediate no-fly zone, sometimes stretching 50 kilometers wide. The convoy, already flown in days earlier, is waiting, and that convoy is a machine of its own. A route car goes ahead to physically confirm the road is clear. Behind it, a pilot car radios live updates. A sweeper team of motorcycles and patrol cars clears traffic so the motorcade never has to slow down. Then the lead car, followed by the president's actual vehicle, nicknamed the Beast. The Beast isn't really a car. It's a 9-ton armored fortress built on a truck chassis, with doors heavier than those on a Boeing 757, 5 inches of ballistic glass, a sealed air system with military-grade filters against chemical or biological attack, run-flat tires, a fuel tank designed not to ignite in a blast, and a stock of blood matching the president's type, just in case. And it's never alone. Identical decoy vehicles constantly shuffle position on the road, so no one, not even most agents, knows for certain which car he's actually riding in. Behind it rides the backup security team, an electronic warfare vehicle jamming nearby signals, staff cars, a hazardous materials unit built for nuclear or chemical threats, press vehicles, a mobile communications truck, and finally an ambulance, all of it moving as one, with a helicopter watching from above. Once he's in the hotel, the illusion of a 5-star stay disappears fast. This is when the real work begins. Back-to-back meetings with heads of state, CEOs, press conferences, state dinners, while quietly, the machinery of the entire US government keeps running from inside that hotel room. It's not a vacation. It's a mobile seat of global power, wrapped in 7 layers of steel and secrecy. And then, as quickly as it arrived, it's gone. Within a day of departure, the cargo planes leave, the convoy disappears, and the host city returns to normal, as if a hurricane had passed through and left no trace. What does all of this cost? The White House has never confirmed an exact number, but one widely cited estimate from a single day of a past presidential visit put the figure north of $200 million, a sum that, if accurate, would rival the daily GDP of an entire country. So the next time you see 30 seconds of a president waving on the news, remember what you're not seeing. 5 months of planning, thousands of people, millions of dollars, and a machine so precise that even the sunlight has already been accounted for. It's not a photo op. It's the most expensive 15 minutes on Earth.